Hello and welcome to Silac Compliance Manager. Silac Software is a Gold Microsoft partner who helps organizations manage and secure their IT infrastructures. Compliance Manager is a new product from Silac Software that delivers a security and compliance assessment capability. Compliance Manager leverages industry best practices, including Microsoft Security Compliance Manager baselines, SCAP baselines, as well as a HIPAA baseline that Silac developed. It delivers real-time monitoring, reporting, and remediation of security controls that allow organizations to move more towards a state of continuous compliance. Here's a short demonstration of Silac Compliance Manager. Getting Compliance Manager set up is easy. Once I've installed the product, when I launch it, it's going to take me through a series of wizards to configure the database, the collector, as well as the endpoints we want Compliance Manager to monitor. So the first question it's going to ask is what database we want to use. I'm just going to use a local instance here of SQL Server. It can be SQL 2008, 2012, 2014, as well as SQL Express. Let's go ahead and create a new database. And Compliance Manager is going to go now and create the database, the necessary schema, and import a number of policies into that database. When Compliance Manager completes the setup of the database, it's going to start the application, and then it's going to prompt us to install a collector. A collector is a very important component in a Compliance Manager architecture, as it's responsible for the collection of information and assessment of compliance on the endpoints that are being monitored. I'm going to enter information about the collector service here, including the machine name as well as the credentials it will use while it's doing the data collection. And then Compliance Manager is going to go out and create that collector. Now note that that collector can exist locally on the machine where I'm installing Compliance Manager, or if I have the proper privileges, I can install that collector on any endpoint within my infrastructure. Once that collector has been created and deployed, the last thing we're going to be prompted for is to add endpoints that we want Compliance Manager to monitor. I have a couple of different ways of adding endpoints. I can use an IP address range. I can import a list of endpoint names from a file, or I can browse the network. So let's just go ahead and browse the network. Let me bring in a couple of machines from within our infrastructure. It's going to prompt me for credentials again. Going to go ahead and start adding those systems to the Compliance Manager database. And it's also going to start a collection on those endpoints based on some default policies that we use as Compliance Manager first begins. Once Compliance Manager has finished its initial data collection, which might take a minute or two, we'll start to see the information in the Compliance Manager dashboards. So for example, I can see that the HIPAA compliance policy in this case has been applied automatically to the systems that I've added to Compliance Manager. And now I can see each of the endpoints that are being monitored, as well as their compliance state as it relates to the HIPAA compliance baseline. I can see the number of compliant and non-compliant settings, and I can drill down on any one of these endpoints to get a very detailed view of all the different settings that are being monitored, as well as the compliance state for each of those settings. As you can see on the left-hand side, we have a number of different reports that we make available out of the box, including some inventory reports. Compliance Manager uses policies to collect information. And if I go over the Policies workspace, you see that included out of the box are the full set of Microsoft Security Compliance baselines. So if, for example, I want to apply Microsoft's best practices to ensure my infrastructure is secure, I can very easily apply one or more of these Microsoft Security Compliance policies to the endpoints within my organization to see if they are in compliance with those policies. Alternatively, I can very easily create new policies that, for example, capture some existing information within my infrastructure to ensure things like my configurations are drifting away from my corporate standard.